Good day everyone! My name is Maleda Tumanong Sakal and me and my groupmate will be tackling about taxation in Spanish Philippines. This topic is very important because it shows how the Spanish colonization affected the economy and the daily life of Filipinos. Before dumating ang mga Spaniards, early Filipinos lived in what we call a subsistence economy. Ibig sabihin, they only produced foods and goods para lang sa sarili nilang needs, hindi para ibenta or i-trade in big amounts. During this time, people gave buwis or handog to their datus. Pero this was very different from the taxation as we know today. Parang mas gift or contribution siya to the community, hindi pa siya yung formal government tax.
Did you know the word buwis comes from the word buwis, meaning offering? It was not fixed and often depended on what the person could afford.
Nung dumating ang mga Spaniards, they introduced the tributo system. Ito yung formal way of collecting taxes from the Filipinos. The purpose of this tributo was to pay the salaries of the government officials, support the expenses of the clergy, at i-maintain ang Spanish colony dito sa Pilipinas.
Did you know the original amount of tributo was around 8 reals per year, paid in silver coins?
At first, nahirapan ang Spaniards mag-collect ng tributo kasi kalat-kalat ang mga Filipino communities. Kaya they introduced the reduction system. Dito, Filipinos were gathered into pueblos or town. Ang bawat family ay binigyan ng land to farm, and later on, these towns were controlled by encomenderos na nirewardan ng Spanish crown for their service.
Did you know the reduction system was also used to convert Filipinos to Christianity? That's why pueblos were built around churches and plazas.
Pero hindi lahat required magbayad ng tributo. Exempted ang mga prinsipales tulad ng alcaldes, gobernadores, at cabezas de barangay. Kasama din ang mga soldiers, member of civil guard, government official, at kahit mga vagrants. Because of this system, Filipinos were forced to increase their agricultural production. Unlike before na sapat lang for their own needs, ngayon they had to produce more para makapagbayad ng tributo. Half of the tribute had to be paid in cash, and the other half in produced. Sa huli, this system financed not only the colony but also the conquest of the Philippines.
Did you know failure to pay tributo could lead to punishment, land confiscation, or being assigned to forced labor?
By the late 16th century, nagkaroon ng Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Once a year, galleons carried goods from Asia papuntang Mexico and then brought Mexican goods back to the Philippines. This boosted trade helped the Spanish economy at lalo pang nagpatibay sa kontrol ng Spain sa Pilipinas.
Did you know only one galleon per year was allowed? Kaya the galleon seat was considered a privilege and political reward.
Pero kahit may tributo system, mahina pa rin ang tax collection. Kaya Spain had to send a subsidy called Situado Ril from Mexico papuntang Philippines. Unfortunately, this subsidy stopped noong 1820 nang naging independent na ang Mexico. So, in conclusion, Spanish taxation really changed the lives of Filipinos. From a simple subsistence lifestyle, napilitan silang mag-shift to intensive agriculture just to meet tributo demands. It also shows na taxation was used not just as financial system, pero also as a political tool para mapanatili ang kontrol ng Spain sa Pilipinas. That ends my part of the report about the early system of taxation in the Spanish Philippines. To continue with the next part of our topic, let me now introduce my partner, Norhema Embol, who will further explain the later forms of taxation tulad ng direct and indirect taxes, government monopolies, at forced labor system during Spanish period. So without further ado, let's now listen to her report.
Hello everyone, I am Norhema S. Embel. So today I am going to talk about the Cedula Personal or Community Tax Certificate. So did you know in 1884, the Spanish colonial government in the Philippines stopped collecting the tribute tax and replaced it with a new system that is called the Cedula Personal. So the cedula was a certificate of identification and also a proof of paying a poll tax. So every resident was required to have one, and it even had to be carried while traveling. So this is required from every resident and must be carried while traveling. So, ano nga ba itong cedula personal? So, ang cedula personal po is identification, which is andun yung names mo, yung birthplace, income, and it was a proof na nakabayad ka na ng poll tax, which is para siyang license. So, ipapakita ko po sa inyo yung example ng cedula, which is ito. And this is required from every resident and must be carried while traveling. So, this is required to them to have a cedula and must be carried while traveling. So, unlike the tribute, the payment of cedula is by person, not by family. So, hindi tulad ng dating tribute is by, yung payment nila is pang family, not by person. So, since napalitan na ito ng poll tax is by person na yung pagbabayad, not by family. So, the payment of cedula is progressive according to income categories. So, kung malaki yung kita mo, is malaki din yung mababayaran mo. And if maliit naman ang kita mo, is maliit din yung mababayaran mo. This system, however, was a heavy burden for the peasants and was easy for the wealthy. So, if you are rich, it was easy to you to have because you are earning. And if you are poor naman, it was hard for you to pay. So, the Chinese in the Philippines were also made to pay their discriminatory cedula, which was bigger than what Filipinos paid. So, yung mga Chinese here in the Philippines is mas malalaki yung binabayaran nila kaysa sa binabayaran ng Filipino. So, let's move on to the next topic. So, the two direct taxes were added in 1878 and imposed on urban incomes. So, we have two direct taxes, which is Urbana and Industria. So, the two direct taxes is Urbana and Industria. So, Urbana is a tax on annual rental values of an urban real estate. So, for example, is you have own house and then someone rent it out. So, as may-ari ng house, is ikaw yung magbabayad ng tax. So, let's proceed to Industria. So, Industria is a tax on salaries, dividends, and profits. So, it was like, for example, is I am an employee. So, ang sahod ko is 30K. So, makukulangan yung sweldo ko na yon para sa ibabayad ng poll tax. So, for example, is the contribution was 1.5. So, total sweldo ko is 28,500. Kasi nga, nakulangan siya because of the tax na mapapay ko sa trabaho ko. So, these taxes were universal and affected all kind of economic activity except agriculture, which was exempted to encourage growth. So, mga agriculture is exempted na sila sa pagbabayad ng tax kasi nga mas malaki na yung naaambag nila sa kanilang pagtatanim. So, indirect taxes such as custom duties were imposed on export and imports to further raise revenue, especially during the 19th century when economic growth increased exponentially. So, there were no excise taxes collected by the Spaniards throughout the years of colonialism. Pero, para mabawi nila ang binayad na tax, isinasama nila ito sa presyo ng product. Kaya sa huli, yung mga bumibili pa rin ang totoong nagbabayad. So, ginawa ito ng mga Kastila, lalo na noong 19th century, kasi mabilis ang paglago ng ekonomiya noon. So, dumami ang kalakalan at product gaya ng abaka, tabako at asukal. So, kailangan nilang mag-raise ng revenue o dagdagan ang kita ng kolonya kaya mas umasa sila sa custom duties. At dagdag pa, wala silang excise taxes, yung special tax sa specific goods gaya ng alak or sigarilyo ngayon. Sa halip, ginamit nila ang monopoly system like tobacco monopoly para kumita. The colonial government also gained income from monopolies such as the sale of stamp paper, manufacturer, and the sale of liquor, cockpits, and opium, but the biggest of the state monopolies was tobacco. So, kumikita rin ng pera ang mga government noong panahon ng Espanya dahil sila lang ang pwedeng magbenta ng mga product na ito. Tapos, ang biggest kita nila naman is tobacco, which is nagsimula noong 1781 and nag-end noong 1882. So, only certain areas were assigned to cultivate tobacco, which the government purchased at a price dictated to the growers. So ilang lugar lang ang pwedeng magtanim ng tobacco at ang gobyerno ang mismong nagtatakda ng presyo nito. This monopoly made it possible for colony to create a surplus of income that made it self-sufficient without the need for the situado real and even contribute to the treasury of Spain. So dahil sa tobacco is malaki ang kinikita ng Pilipinas. So dahil dito ay kaya na nilang gastusan ang self-sufficient nila. So hindi na nila need ang tulong mula sa situado real. Higit pa doon is nakakapag-ambag pa sila ng pera pabalik ng Spain. Forced labor was a character of Spanish colonial taxation in the Philippines and was required from the Filipinos. So, isa sa mga paraan ng tax ng mga Kastila ay hindi lang sa pera kundi sa libreng paggawa. So, need nila magtrabaho para sa gobyerno bilang kapalit ng kanilang tax. So, for example, is ngayon is ang pagbabayad natin ng tax is gamit yung pera. So, panahon ng Kastila is kailangan muna nila magtrabaho kapalit ng tax. It proved useful in defending the territory of the colony and augmenting the labor required by woodcutting and shipbuilding. So, ginamit ng Kastila ang libreng paggawa ng mga Pilipino para maprotektahan ang kolonya at para makagawa ng mga barko mula sa kahoy na super importante, especially during the time of galleon trade. So, putol sila ng kahoy at gumawa sila ng barko para protektahan ang kolonya, especially during the time of galleon trade. Through a polo system, male Filipinos were obligated to serve a burden that resulted in an increase in death rate and flight to the mountains, which led to a decrease in population in the 17th century. So, ang mga lalaking Filipino 16 to 60 years old ay pinagtatrabaho ng sapilitan. So, dahil sa mabigat na trabaho, marami ang tumakas papunta sa bundok or mountain. So, bumaba ang population noong 17th century. So, for example lang nito, is halimbawa is may isang lalaki, which is ang pangalan niya is si Juan. So, pinagtatrabaho siya ng sapilitan. So, ang result is nagkasakit siya at namatay. So, dahil sa marami ang namatay at maraming nagkasakit is ang mga karamihan is nagsitakbuhan sila at tumakas papuntang bundok. So, bumaba ang population noong 17th century. This changed later on as polos and servicios became lighter and was organized at the municipal level. So sa bandang huli ay ang sapilitang paggawa ay pinagaan at ginawa na lang sa local government. Kaya hindi na ito gaano kabigat ang trabaho. So, for example, is dati is 40 days. Ngayon naman, since napalitan, is 15 days na. Labor provided was used in public works, such as the building of roads and bridges. So, instead of paying money as tax, yung mga Filipino during the Spanish were sometimes required to work for the government for free. Some were made to serve the municipal office or as night guards. So other Filipinos were assigned to help in the town office, like clerks or messengers, or to stand as guard at night or security in the community. So this system was a form of forced labor where Filipino had to work for the government instead of paying taxes. So instead of paying taxes is mas ginusto ng mga Filipino during Spanish period na magtrabaho sila kapalit ng tax. Males were required to provide labor for 40 days a year, reduced to 15 days a year in 1884. So, need ng mga lalaki magtrabaho ng libre sa government. So, noong 1884, nabawasan ito at naging 15 days na lang para mas magaan sa mga tao. So, kung ang dati is 40 days a year ang pagtatrabaho nila ng mabigat na trabaho is ngayong napalitan na is 15 days in a year na lang. They may opt out by paying the falas of 3 pesos per annum. So, kung ayaw ng mga lalaki magtrabaho ng polo and servicios, which is forced labor, it is okay to na hindi sila magtrabaho as long as magbayad sila ng 3 pesos kada years, so which is a falas kapalit ng tax, which was usually lost to corruption because it was collected at the municipal level and were known as saidas or droppings. So kadalasan ang mga pera daw ay hindi napupunta sa gobyerno. So dahil mga municipal level ang nagko-kolekta, madalas itong kinukurakot o nawawala. So that's why they called it saidas. So saidas means droppings. The polos would be called prestigiation personnel or personal services by the second half of the 19th century. So, sa pagsapit ng kalagitnaan ng 18,000, binago ang tawag sa polo and servition. So, ito ay tinawag na prestigiation personnel or personal services. That's all po. Thank you.